Welcome back, guys. This is Mog with Mog'sCast back at you today. Kerbal space program in the United Kerbal Industries save file we're working on. In the last video, I brought up the habitat module and the space station core up to the Mun. And on this episode, we're going to launch up the science module, which is pretty much a mirror of the habitation module. It houses another 7 Kerbals in it, 3 in the pod, 4 in the hitchhiker container. And what it does have, though, is it's got all the science modules, as well as a couple little cameras, and on top is a small tug with a winch on it for station work. So that's going up with it too. You might be wondering what this little guy is. All it is basically just a little counterbalance with some RCS fuel tanks to keep things even while this puts the rest of the station into place. That's going to be discarded eventually. All it is yeah, just a counterbalance to weigh out this thing, hopefully. Haven't actually tested it, but that's the idea behind it. So let's see. We're just going to go ahead and get on with this thing. Let's see, target the Mun, get into a better launch position. Oh, okay, no, that's the other one. Here we go. That's about right. Mun is targeted. Throttle up and launch. And there's that dang exploding thing again. I have no idea what causes that. It's the weirdest dang thing. Anyway, here we go. Getting up in speed real nice and quick here. Everything seems pretty darn stable. About halfway through our first fuel tanks in the first kilometer. And it is sunset here. You can see the dark browns of a very low sun over the horizon there. So we will be flying into the dark as we burn toward the moon. Today our crew looks like Orny, Rake, and Hans Kerman. Seem like pretty good names, those last two. Orny, that's a weird one. Orny. Horny. Anyway, oh, I'm going too fast. I'm not paying attention. I'm sitting there trying to pronounce names and make jokes. Stupid jokes, I admit. And we are going way past our what we should be paying attention to is terminal velocity, I believe is the correct terminology for that, where you're basically fighting against the atmosphere more than you should be. It's less efficient. I've talked about this before, I'm sure, but if you're new to the channel, maybe you haven't heard it. Therefore, I repeat things. Here we go, tilting down, gravity turn, gonna kick back up that throttle as we make our way out into orbit. We are 13.5 kilometers up already from the surface of Kerbin, and we are pushing that speed up. Getting a little overheat on the main engine there, but that's okay. Okay, I'm actually going to turn off RCS. We don't need to be running that right now. The ship's stable enough. Really building up that speed now, getting up to about 650 roughly meters a second, and climbing. Getting ready to drop these last set of tanks from the asparagus staging setup we had. Boo! There they go. Well, that's an odd little artifact glitch. Tilt down just a bit more, down to about the 30 as we pass 30 kilometers up, and whoa, I'm getting some wobble on that little tug at the end there. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to turn down my throttle a little bit. Coming up on 15,000 meters, 16,000 meters a second. That is fast. Tilt down to the horizon after we pass our 40k mark, 4D kilometers up, and start pushing out our apoapsis and gaining orbital speed, orbital velocity. Gonna kick that off at about 124 kilometers up for the apoapsis, and come out here, get our node going, and there we go, decent orbit. We'll be burning that just a hair before we get to the moon, which is fine. It's not a big deal. You have to burn out and get into a stable orbit regardless. Even if you're just pushing straight to the moon, at one point you make a perfectly well, maybe not perfectly circular orbit, but you make an orbit. So creating an orbit a little early isn't a bad thing. You're still burning out your orbital velocity. There are ways to do it more efficient. Like if you're timing everything perfectly, then you are a little more fuel efficient, but it is what it is. Big deal. This thing still is going to get us out there. Should be just fine. I need about 12 seconds burn, so we're going to go ahead and line up on the node point, and then aim for about T-7 to start our burn. Come on, you can do it, spaceship. Lock that gimbal, makes things a little easier. Okay, there we go. Let's speed on up. Okay, here we go. About 4 seconds off. And start that burn. As we can see it coming around there. And boom. We'll call that good. It's going to be a little higher on the other side, 123, 140, yep. That's fine, but we will be getting close to burning out to the Mun now. So let's angle this down just a hair, because we're going to need to anyway. And speed up until we see that Mun. There it is, just peeking over the horizon. Slow it on down. Kick these engines in. Get right on that retro marker. And engage. And we gotta come back out here, start watching this thing build out. Now, as you can see, I didn't do an orbital node this time. And that's fine. Come on. This game is still freaking out a little bit. Getting little hiccups. It's really annoying. I hope you guys actually can still hear me talking at the very least while those happen. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now let's go ahead and fast forward. While I'm doing this, I'm going to actually make sure this keeps going. But I mentioned in the last video about requesting permission to post videos from different publishers, dev companies, those kind of things, a few. I haven't done too many of them yet, but if you guys have any ideas for games that you want to see me play, or anything else like that, give me a heads up so I can kind of request that stuff in advance to make sure it's an easy transition into those things, and I don't have to be like, oh yeah, totally, we'll do that, and then find out that I won't be able to. I'd rather get it out of the way now, contact those publishing companies, or producers, whatever, the right people, and figure out if that's going to be legally okay with them. Most of the time, they're pretty chill about that stuff. Most. I won't say always. But yeah. Here we go. We're coming up on the Mun. And okay. You can see it kind of pulling us around there, and it looks like the alarm clock mod. Just let me know I entered that sphere of influence, and whoa! Fun. Looks like I came in at a funky angle. That's okay. I'm going to plan this a little bit. We'll see what happens. I'm going to burn south and see if I can bring this down to where our periapsis is pretty much in line with the station. It may fling us back that way. If you can see my mouse, like back up north after we hit that, depending on how this is oriented in reality. But we'll see what happens. So here we go. Gonna do a little burn. Oops, wrong way. Yeah, I think this is gonna work just fine. Okay, we're gonna stay right there. Might be a little low, but at least it's closer. Yeah, it's a little low. That's fine, whatever. Not a huge deal. Bring that back up. And then we will plan to focus on the Mun, because that's easier to miss with nodes. Okay. Alright, and we do want to have a tighter orbit so that we catch up on the station. And as you can see, still haven't figured out a name for this thing, so once again, if you guys have any ideas for names, just let me know. And I'm actually going to get another node set up here for the correction of our inclination, at least to some degree. So as you can see, we're going to come in here, shrink our orbit, and then it'll toss us upwards a little bit, and then when we get back on closer to that correct plane, we're going to readjust our orbit once more. That's how we're going to accomplish this. Now, I haven't had many issues with doing nodes off nodes, stacks on stacks, nodes off nodes, but it is a little confusing. Once you do this node, which is the first one here, should be this proper node right here, the only one that you see, I believe, and then once that gets burnt out and you delete it, this should become your default node seen on your nav ball. So let's get in position here. Speed that. Whoa, and I screwed that one up. Oh, damn. Okay, let's see how I can save this. No, away with you, node. Okay, so I'm basically just adjusting my inclination and then keeping it a tighter spiral. This is going to require a bit more delta V, and it's totally inefficient because I'm an idiot and I decided to push my time warp a little too fast. That'll happen. Even though I have that alarm clock mod, it won't stop you from doing stupid stuff. It'll pause when you tell it to pause, or if you create alarms for it prior. Which you can do. You can set nodes really easy in this thing. Like, I'll just get rid of those old ones because it keeps things in the list even after you're done it. But yeah, add a node. You can do maneuver node, and it's just by default. I've already got a maneuver set up, so it'll tell me. And you just hit add alarm, and boom, it'll go off. When you can set how early it'll go off to. I've got it set for a minute. Which it would have went off 7 seconds ago, roughly. Or you can do raw alarms for an exact time. So, like, if you've got other things in orbit, come on, get back on that node. If you've got other things in orbit and you want to keep going on your space mission, like you got some stuff on transit out to Juno, and we all know that takes forever, you can actually set an alarm for it to hit a certain node or a certain point or just a certain time in the future, so that you can be like, oh, right, I need to go check on that. Okay, oh, that's what's going on. I don't have an SAS or anything started. That's why it's that's why it's still moving off course. Okay, so 6-second burn. So I'm going to start at about T-4, just so that I go. Why do I do that? Terrible. I'm a terrible person. Close enough. And actually going to burn that in a little further, just so we get that inside track. Okay. So here we go. Let's speed this up. This time a little more gingerly. But I'm also setting as current target so I get my ascension node spots. Okay. Go, adjust that inclination so I'll be in the proper plane. And okay, so we are burning south, since when we pass this we're moving this direction. If we're burning south, it means we're pulling down toward the south pole, which will adjust our inclination that way. There we go. Just moving into position here. Okay. That's pretty well spot on. The reason I didn't go full thrust and adjusted and waited so long to do that full burn is because if you wait an even time and burn an even amount of the maneuver on either side of that maneuver time frame, it should keep your burn even. So like if you need to burn half your velocity off 5 seconds before, you'll want to go 5 seconds after before you finish the maneuver to keep things even. Just getting lined up for this one here. Okay. That's another thing with these really low burns. If you just use a small amount of throttle, it makes the burn more easy to watch. So it's easier to get it closer without as much margin of error. And okay, so we're in position. We're going to go ahead and time warp and catch up on the station, which might take a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward this stuff manually, since we can't fast forward like this in the game further. So be right back. Okay, so we've separated from the rest of the tanks there. I'm just using the small bloat boosters on this guy to bring us out of that way and closer to the station itself. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in double physical time warp just to make this whole process a little quicker, because it's all about the slow movements when it's getting close to the station like this. Above and beyond the lag of just being so close to a station, or build a larger structure like this, you just have to go slow to make sure you don't break stuff. There we go. So all docked in there. Now as you can tell, that little piece is still, the little RCS tank is still in place there. That's fine. I'm going to leave it there for the time being. Eventually we're going to remove it, push it out, and then redock this into the core. But that doesn't need to happen right away. So there we go. There's the science module on the station. All set up. Next, I think we'll be bringing up our, probably either one of our solar arrays, or possibly our docking array that's going to go in the center here. The solar arrays are going to come off the ends, but the docking is just going to be right there in the center. And shut off that SAS, so things stop wobbling. And there we go. We have our partially built station. Now, what we're going to do next, since this is going to be for the cathane processing and refueling, we're going to pull the cathane module off the Orion station, the one in orbit of Kerbal, and bring it on over to this station, since it really isn't needed over there on Kerbal. We're not doing mining there. Or just, if we need to refuel that station, we'll just bring up tanks. But this way, we don't have to send up another module. We can just tow it out here. But what I'm going to have to do first is actually bring out the drop ship and transfer it up to Orion station first, and then grab that cathane rig and push it out to here. So I think I've got one built. Haven't tested it fully, but I do believe it'll do the trick. Orion station is a very laggy place, I've noticed. I've recently turned down my graphics settings since the last episode, so I'm hoping that'll help things too, but it's very laggy. So what I think I'm going to do is actually use one of the local tugs on that station and detach it with a tug and pull it away out of the physics range of the station, and then just bring the tug back in and rendezvous with that piece that's floating by itself instead of the station itself. But we'll see. I may have to refuel the dropship, but we'll figure that all out en route. So we'll see you guys next time, and thanks for watching.